Well, we see people's rights being taken away and their civil liberties all the time. It's just being slipped away from underneath them. And this is what we were talking about, is how do we go from a world where we can all live as one and think as one breathing humanity, and there isn't a government as such, and people have asked this question, who makes the decisions? Some people somewhere have to be, I don't want to use the word power, but be like a synod, a group that would come together. Could you see this happening? Would this happen?
I don't know that, but if, like I said before, if enough people understand the Venus Project and demand that a resource-based economy be installed, it will be installed. Like I said, if they do nothing, the consequences are awful. I feel we're poisoning the air, the atmosphere, the oceans, and that people think, well, things always got a little bad, they'll always get a little better. They are unreal, and since they are unaware of all the distant possibilities, they don't concern themselves with it. Until they lose their jobs, their homes, and the monetary system collapses in on them, and the banks fail, then they will look for something else. People have never in history changed society for the future.
If all of a sudden someone was to give you a load of money, millions, billions possibly, to start off the Venus Project, would you start something in America? Would it be a different part of the world?
I'd start motion pictures first.
Oh, you'd start motion picture,
pictures can get the millions of people in the shortest amount of time. Instead of me lecturing at different universities, the movies can travel all over the world and show people how decisions are arrived at, how we get from here to there in detail. And that's the fastest way to get to people, either through the media or a motion picture. The media won't work too well because the people that do that don't know what the questions are. So we have to make a movie showing the opposition who makes the decisions, how do you know that's right, why should we follow your plan alone? There's thousands of other views. What do you do with different viewpoints of different people who want to go in different directions? How do you manage that? That's the question.
I know it might sound strange, but have you actually approached Steven Spielberg? Because he loves to do future projects and ideas.
If Spielberg was interested in this, he has to come out to the Venus Project. Otherwise, you can't do it by correspondence because the system is too different than his upbringing. Spielberg would have to be well-read in sociology, social science. You can't just talk to people and turn them around. They have to have some sort of education that enables them to understand.
But people could work with him on this film, and they could work together to bring the ideas into it. And if anyone could put a message out there, it could be someone like him. Has anyone actually asked him or approached him about it?
I'm sure lots of people are writing him, but possibly never heard of me. So who the hell is this guy?
Well, you never know in the next few weeks.
So it depends on what people do. It is not up to me. I have no power at all.
There is a group on the Zeitgeist movement site, the communication group, that is trying to get to different people like Spielberg and introduce them to the Venus Project.
Do you know how that's going, Roxanne?
No, actually I don't. But they're working hard, I know that. We haven't heard from the people they've been trying to address. Though.
Well, I think after your trip to England, because you've made contacts with such a lot of people over here, I think your net is going to be spread so far and wide that you will have some huge contacts coming in after this. Well, I do hope so anyway.
We've had more success abroad and here than we have in the United States.
Sometimes that's the case, isn't it? People aren't recognised in their own hometown.
Yes, we've been written up all over the world and been on CNN and different television stations all over the world, but the United States has not touched it.
Well, this is why I was saying, do they actually know about you, people like Steven Spielberg, to take something like this on board? But as I say, going back to my other question, if you did have the money all of a sudden in your pocket to start to build one of the cities, where would it be?
Well, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't build a city. I would make motion pictures to enable people to understand the direction. So if you just build a new city and put normal people in it, normal means mixed up by culture, no, the city will go back to the same kind of system. So people have to know how to operate society so we don't have serial killers, robbery, murder, sexual abuse. All of that would have to be part of the educational system. I don't care about building new cities for people. I care what's up here. So some people think if you eat vegetables, you're less aggressive. Well, I've seen cows that are less aggressive, not because they eat vegetables, because there's a lot of grass. And when there's a little bit of grass, animals bite each other. Okay. So I would say scarcity produces most of the problems, which is the monetary system. Money. Senators get paid off to carry out the wishes of the drug administration or to carry out some other policy. Some senator once said to me, can you design a highway that moves over toward my property and then away, because it'll increase the value of my property? I said, sure, I can do that, but I won't. Mm-hmm. When I was in the Army, they said, can you make a bomb that goes sideways instead of up? I said, I don't know how to do that. I know how to do that, but I won't. I think most scientists are pretty stupid because they're conditioned in this society. That's why in Germany they fell in line with Hitler. In Italy the scientists fell in line with Mussolini. And some scientists are even proposing to terraform other planets to make them livable. If they were scientists, they better work on this one first.
Well, I do agree with you actually on that. You know, before we go somewhere else, we've got to get this one sorted first. Yes. We talk about scientists. I'd really like to bring up Nikola Tesla here. Now, this was a person, I think about 100 years ago, possibly, scientist who had some great inventions.
Yes,
and he wanted to do things for the people and basically give energy away for free. Yes. But he was quashed by the big companies and corporations because they wanted to make money out of his inventions. I mean, Jack, would you see things like that happening to you if you got more down the line with things?
Sure. It's possible. If you put me in charge, I'd last about a week. I think they'd get rid of me. But I understand the people that are in fear that social change might take away their disadvantages. So the CIA and the FBI works to maintain the system. This is called an established system. The future society, if we get there, will be an emergent system. That there's no fixed notions of utopia, final frontiers. Any city you design can become better. And every idea keeps changing and growing. You can't freeze society and say this is utopia, because that's like saying that's the best telephone you'll ever have. Things always change, and no government can stop change. So change is inevitable. The problem is the transition from this system to the next. There's going to be a lot of trouble, a lot of assassinations. I don't wish this, but people have never been educated to listen to new ideas. If it doesn't fit their background, like if you took your grandmother to Miami Beach and she saw the girls who are with their butts hanging out, they've gone too far. And she'd be right where she's coming from. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So to change people fast, you have to get to the media. And if the media is afraid that I don't only rock the boat, I sink it, they're not about to invite you on, because the media depends on the sale of cigarettes, beer, drugs, and the government makes a lot of money from cancer sticks, which are what cigarettes are. And the government, since it gets a big kickback from beer, wine, whiskey, and cigarettes, they're not about to give it up. The government is a corrupt. In other words, the judges of the Supreme Court in America will be considered criminals in a sane society. Now, religious people are trained to look up to King Solomon. He had 1,000 wives. He'd be arrested as a bigamist today. So all the people you think are great will fall into the category of criminals in a sane society, particularly the military.